didn't mention, but you made me think of it, because the Hasidic world is such a high incidence of developmental disorders, right? I don't know about that, but what you do find is the Hasidic world, there are very common naming patterns. The Hasidic world names largely after deceased relatives who died in the Holocaust, and after Levis. So there's very specific naming patterns. But I'll have to look in some point at this issue of disabilities. Disability is becoming an increasingly hot topic in the religious world. There are two issues really, and that has to do with state law. One is the issue of public schools, access to public education, and disabilities, taking care of disabilities, because you try to keep your children in Hasidic school unless they have disabilities, then you send them to the state school, because the state school has funding and is able to deal with it better. And then when you have a majority of Hasidic kids, you try to get the state to cater to their needs. That's been an issue for a long time. And the other issue that comes up a lot now is what's actually being taught in the schools. Are people learning enough secular subjects in English? Are they able to enter the workforce when they finish? I see this, I know I'm off topic, so I'll finish the thought. But I see this a lot with my students who come to me and say, I went to Jewish school, I went to Lubavitcher school, I broke away, and I can't write an essay. I never learned this kind of thing. And I comfort them by saying, don't worry, the kids go to Ontario school either. But it's, that's a whole other, the Hasidic world has a lot of interesting things that, to look up on. But I don't have the answer.
I'm called Joel in English, but as a kid I was Yussel.
Yeah.
My dad's name was Yosef.
Yeah.
Who I didn't know.
I mean, it's one of the funny things in Israeli society that
you're going to be called Joey.
Yeah, Israeli society obviously rejected Yiddish to a great extent, especially in its early years. But the influence of Yiddish on modern Hebrew is tremendous. The effective names, nicknames, and so on are largely Yiddish in the early years of Hebrew, and it carries on. And then those nicknames become a sign of insider belonging, including for non-Ashkenazi Jews. Right? Remember Itzik Mordechai, the Iraqi general in Israel? Right? No Iraqi mother gives his kid the name Itzik. Right? It's completely foreign. But Itzik is, while it's the Yiddish, it becomes a sign of you're one of us. You're part of an insider group. So that's I don't know how we got there, but this becomes giving non-Ashkenazi Jews names like Yussel and Itzik becomes a sign of a certain type of acceptance in Israeli society. That's a whole other pattern. Whereas the general Ashkenazi name pattern is rejected, then the effective, the nicknames, those stick to a large extent, and they build upon them.
Go to Meyer was Meyerson.
Yeah.
Was whatever.
Right, but I mean specifically, you have a society that rejects Yiddish, and yet Yiddish penetrates Hebrew and gets extended to non-Ashkenazi Jews as a way as marking them as belonging to a select group or a sign of affection, which is one of the funny things about names and language.
I had a friend, William Gula or Willie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we all have relatives.
My other lady was Baruch, which is Yiddish. Benny, I don't know what you call it.
Right.
Benjamin.
Yeah, it makes for a mess for your grandchildren when they want to research who their great-grandparents were. Yeah. It's
And
very
also
common.
the switch. I mean, for years we couldn't find a grandfather who had perished in the Holocaust because we went by the German name he lived under for 20 years in Germany.
Right.
When we put in the Polish spelling, we found the
Right.
record of what happened to him. Because when he was deported from Germany, he was deported under his Polish name.
Right, right. And the thing you just reminded me of, now that you have Jews from the former Soviet Union, their names have gone through an additional level of transformation. When people came to North America in the early 20th century from Eastern Europe, their names were anglicized, usually according to German norms, or they already had German spelled names, German orthography used on their papers. So my name, Weiser, is spelled the German way. It comes from Austria-Hungary. But Gil Weiser was a friend of my brother's, grew up in Israel. His name obviously is spelled in Jewish letters and Hebrew letters. And the family comes to the United States. The name gets rendered as Vayzer, right? Rosenzweig comes to America in 1912 or Canada. You spell R-O-S-E, right? You can imagine. Goes to the family in the Soviet Union. The Soviets then have to render the Cyrillic version into Roman letters. Then they go to Israel. Then they come to Canada. And you can imagine when you switch alphabets, the multiple variants you get and the distortions that happen, which makes it all harder to follow. Yeah.
So that's how Rubinchik would become Robinson.
How?
Rubinchik.
Well, I would say Rubinchik came Robinson because someone decided that Robinson was a better name. Not because of a distortion. That's I would say, too far from the origin. But Robinson has to do with the son of a rabbi. It works well in English, but there's nothing inherently non-Jewish about that name. There's a certain number of Jewish names that work very well in English, and people assume the names were changed. They just happen to be the names that are in Europe that work well here.
And also with the draft business, people totally changed.
Sometimes they did, yeah.
There's-
Or they didn't. Jews also did not register marriages.
Yes.
So the children are very often registered under the maiden name of the mother. They're officially illegitimate from the standpoint of the state, but not illegitimate, obviously, from the standpoint of the rabbis. So this is another name why name shifts happen over time in families in the 19th and 20th century. Yeah. It's quite interesting what you do with it. It's quite interesting. But I still laugh that, changing your last name is the sign of change. It's the most Jewish thing, Changing your name, you're stating you're being Jewish. And these names no one cared about until 150 years ago. And yet Jews change their first names now much more casually than they used to change, the whole issue of last names. That's what makes life interesting. Yeah.
I think I read in some of Isaac Shepherd's Singer's writings in pre-war Poland, and also descriptions in the ghetto. You use a lot of nicknames, like such and such the guy, another
Yeah.
person, the fresser. Was that common? Or was that
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other thing, nicknames. That's like a whole other discussion. Look, pre-modern life, and by pre-modern, I'm not going to give you an academic definition. Let's just say into the 19th century. Traditional naming patterns hold up. As the state intervenes in Jewish life, we have to change naming patterns. As Jews begin to urbanize more, it complicates naming patterns. But in traditional shtetl life, let's say in Eastern Europe, the way Jews typically recognize each other, because you're talking about a few thousand people, very often you meet most of the people in your town. Right? You knew them by face and by association. So-and-so the butcher, so-and-so the tall guy, so-and-so someone's daughter, so-and-so's first husband, so-and-so the thief. For every shtetl there is a folklore. This has been documented. Unfortunately, much of the documentation you don't understand anymore. Because when they wrote this stuff down, Chelmel Malumin, Chelmel Chachumin, that we know what it means.
Right.
But there are entire list of shtetl that no longer exist, with 35 different descriptions of the people. I don't know, the Lozhnitske Flaskadligas. Why do people call them the Flaskadligas? Or the bagel lacher. Why are the people in this shtetl known as the bagel holes? There was a reason, and that's lost to us. But every shtetl had a folklore, and people lived these for generations, and there were associations that were quite common. So yeah, there's a massive trove of this stuff out there.
No, but I can get that one.
What's another Kozabok?
What's that?
What's another Kozabok?
Yeah, right, both droppings, yeah. Yeah, I wrote a book about a guy named Leif Politsky, who was a Jewish political figure and cultural figure, and a linguist. And he wrote one of his early books all about these kinds of names. And someone criticized him and said, why are you explaining these names? Everybody knows what these names mean. And then, of course, now we don't know. For him, his book, we know a lot of it. The other books, they didn't bother to explain, we don't know. Right? It's like the naming practice in general. If you know there isn't this name, this knowledge, the transmission is easily interrupted and lost.
I have the niece Dana, but I thought Dana was her overall name. It's Deborah in Ifrit.
Yeah.
I forget my other nieces.
Do you ever think at all about what new privacy laws would mean for the transmission of future knowledge? We're being anonymized in so many records, so many places. You can't record the name, you can't be identifiable. Of course, this is.
So
not
are
a
you
normal
asking,
breach from
are
the
you
exhibit.
asking your house is gonna affect life, or you're asking how is going to
Well,
frustrate
because
research?
voters list used to be nailed to the telephone pole, for example.
What's
If you
that?
go, a voters list
Yeah.
used to be compiled by
Yeah.
people going door to door.
Right.
They don't be nailed to the telephone pole, so you could see that the list was true, because you could see if your neighbors had more people listed there than were living in the house or whatever.
Right.
But in any event, that's the way it was when I grew up. Now, you can't get a voters list unless you happen to
Right.
identify yourself as being entitled to it.
Right,
Because you're a member of a party, you were nominated as
yeah.
the official representative. So that whole bunch of data is gone.
I'm assuming all this data is available on a hard drive in Russia. You just have to go there. Along with
I
my
don't know
credit
what
card
I'm thinking. I
number.
think that your grandson, if he follows your profession,
Yeah.
will have a much more difficult time.
Yeah, but you know, that's why we have jobs, right? We develop new methodologies to deal with these problems. It makes life interesting and, look, it's something you can't fight in the end. But I'll let future generations worry about that problem.
You have to like puzzles.
Yeah. Look, I love this stuff. I'm waiting for someone to say to me, listen, I know you're a professor, but really, wouldn't you like to write a biography of my family and research my genealogy? I'll pay you much more. No one's come to me yet. By the way, the Jewish Genealogical Society in New York, they're at the Center for Jewish History on 16th Street. There's an office for Jewish genealogy. They will answer your queries via email. And there's been a hell of a lot of stuff done by the Jewish Genealogical Society that's online. If you are interested in your family genealogy and name and all of this, there are lots of tutorials and other useful information that's readily available.
Jewish genealogy is very good.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Website.
Right, they also translate Yitzhak Bicha now into English. You know, you talk about the future, how it's going to be more difficult. Yet, where these people took information which was 30 years ago very hard to acquire, and they've made it super accessible. So, you know, the future will figure it out, that's my assumption. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.